At this time, I'll call the November 21st, 2022 County Council meeting to order. I'll recognize the Honorable Joel Hamilton, who will lead us in the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
It's the last time I get to do this. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for gathering us in this chamber to conduct the business of this county. I pray you grant this body wisdom and clarity as we consider the items before us. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If the following individuals will come forward to be sworn into office for an appointed board and commission, Maria Mack, Catawba Mental Health Board; Porter Gable, Rock Hill, York County Convention and Visitors Bureau, District 3; Cal Williams, Accommodations, Tax and Advisory Committee, Hospitality Industry. And as you make your way forward, first of all, I'll say it's not normal that we hear from porters, and so my son is a porter. We're glad to have you here. We appreciate all of you. See, here I am just doing the stereotype. We appreciate all of you being here tonight, and on behalf of the council, I want to thank you for you volunteering to serve in this slot. There are a lot of things that can't be done by us here on the council, and we depend on our volunteers to serve in those various boards and commission capacity, and you rarely get thanked, but we will thank you tonight, and we appreciate the service that you will have on behalf of the citizens.
I do solemnly swear that I'm duly qualified, according to the Constitution of this state, to exercise the duties of the office to which I've been appointed, and that I will, to the best of my ability, discharge the duties thereof, and preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of this state and of the United States. So help me God.
Thank you again for agreeing to serve. We do not have any appearances tonight, so we'll move straight into our public forum session, which is limited to 15 individuals. Only 2 chose to speak up tonight. This is an opportunity for us to hear from the public, and we don't get a chance to speak back. We just listen, so I will ask that you please abide by the rules that talk about when you speak to keep those comments to county council related issues and not personal attacks, since we don't respond back. When you come forward, if you will please give your name and your address before you start speaking, and if you'll pay attention to the screen, it will go to a yellow mark and then to a red mark when your time is up, and if you will kindly close your remarks then. I will let you know that if you are here to speak on a public hearing item, if you wait for the public hearing item, you are not limited to 2 minutes. You can speak as long as you want. So if you are here for that and would prefer to speak then, or you can speak in both slots if you like, want to make you aware of that. As it pertains to the public hearing item number 1, we will be having, due to a procedural issue, we will be having another public hearing on that on December 22nd at 6 p.m. So you can put that on your calendar if that's one of the items that you were here for. The first on the list is Michael Pruner. Defer? Yes, sir. Emily Brown.
Emily Brown, 926 Oakland Avenue, Rock Hill, South Carolina, 29730. I'm here for rezoning 2222, 2001, and 2009 Faribault Highway. Just to let you know, the applicant's here tonight if you have any questions, but we would appreciate your support for second reading. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. That concludes our public forum session. I know that in consent agenda, we were asked to remove number 9, which will go to number 5 in old business. Are there any other matters that we need to remove? Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
To approve. Motion to approve as amended.
As amended.
Thank you. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. We move now to our first public hearing. Council to hold a public hearing and consider second reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 153 of the York County Code of Ordinances to incorporate a revised capital improvements plan as Appendix B to the school impact fee study and capital improvements plan prepared for the Fort Mill School District by Tischler Bice dated June 14th, 2018, and revised September 7th, 2022, to address updated capacity needs driven by residential growth, to provide for a public hearing, and to provide for other matters related thereto. At this time, we will hear from anyone who is here to speak on that. You're certainly welcome to speak. We will have, again, as I stated previously, another public hearing on December 22nd. If there is anyone here who wishes to speak against, if you will come forward.
Good evening. Michael Pruner, 841 Hollis Lakes Road, Rock Hill, South Carolina, 29732. So first, I'd like to thank council and staff for having a second public hearing and to producing the correct notice that will contain the items for the public so they can be aware. And anyone that wants to come to that next public hearing, there's supposed to be a copy of the capital improvement plan for public inspection here at the government offices, and I'd encourage you to come by and take a look at that. I'm with the York County Home Builders Association. I'm also a 20-plus year resident of York County and a home builder. So we fully believe that a new study needs to be done, not just an update to a capital improvement plan. Here's a few reasons why we believe that. Number one, the updated, amended one appendix to a 2018 study doesn't give us an update on growth rates, doesn't give us an update on debt service since 2018, doesn't show us what additional bonds have been issued since then, almost 200 million worth, and what those are paying for, so we can compare what those are paying for versus what's on the wish list for spending these monies on. And updated credits for paying the bonded debts. So short-term debt that was taken by the school district in an effort to avoid lowering the current owner's taxes and millage rates that were promised in 2018 to everyone that attended the public hearing at the McLovey Center. Updated school district debt, what additional capacity cost versus complete new school cost. So it's easy to say we want to add capacity because we can't build a new school because that school was bonded, but does it cost as much? Well, when I build a home, if somebody wants to add a bathroom, it doesn't cost as much to add a bathroom as it does to build a whole new house. Where are the annual reports required by the impact fee law? What do they say? Where can I read those? Not on the county site, not on the school district site. When I question those items, I'm told, well, we put that off because of the legal issues. We put those off because of COVID. We put this off because of that. Let's see them. The study should be current and not include anything previously bonded. So what's been put forth tonight still shows the bonded schools in it. That's not right. Issues with proposed impact fee ordinance modification. So York County has pending litigation against the Fort Mill School District over this matter. Why can't that play out in the court? Why can't the courts decide this money was not gotten properly, it should be refunded, then move forward with a new ordinance to collect money going forward? Taking ill-gotten monies and trying to spend them on something else, at minimum is bad optics, at maximum it's a cover-up. The updated capital plan has been reverse engineered to make it fit the current impact fee. So how can we change what we're going to spend money on and change what we need to build, but have it come up to be the same exact amount as it was before? Man, that's curious. The study from 2018 clearly indicated bonded schools, so monies were collected under incorrect study and an ordinance that is not correct. Those monies absolutely should be refunded. State law says to the current owner of that home. A modification of the ordinance does not change that. So only monies collected from the modification point forward, if we're talking December 22nd forward, if that passes at that time, that's monies that should be spent, not monies that were gotten for a purpose that was not legitimate. So a complete new study based on added capacity should be done, and a new impact fee rate should be approved by council, and council's decision on what that rate should be based on that plan. And to address the comments and concerns of several council members that growth should pay for growth. Amen. Adequate public facilities ordinance in this county is needed. The school district should have a say in the new developments that come that impact their schools. In addition, the South Carolina Residential Improvement Act, Section 63510, allows for development to pay for development and only put the burden on those folks that are bringing that development to the county, not the current landowners, not the current people that want to cut off an acre of land for their son, their daughter, their grandchild, those type things as well. So to wrap it up, what can council do? Council can send it back for a complete new impact fee study. Okay, 2018 was a long time ago. The county should withhold monies that were calculated on bonded projects. Send the other monies to the school district immediately. Pass a resolution to refund the monies collected for bonded projects. Send the refunds to current homeowners per state law. Set a new impact fee as allowed by law for an updated full study. And support the Fort Mill schools with adequate public funding ordinance and South Carolina Improvement Act. And to give you an idea, before I leave the podium tonight, there's 288 pages here of the people that have paid the impact fee that are due a refund. These are the people that everybody needs to think about, okay? Half the money was collected for an ill-gotten purpose. That doesn't change that these people paid it and should get it back. What you can change is how it's done going forward. And going forward, it can be collected properly and used properly. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak against? Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in favor?
I'm Christy Spears. I live at 7102 Anchorage Lane, TK. I'm also the chairwoman of the Fort Mill School Board, and I'm here representing many of my board members who are here. Our district administration is here. I'm also representing the district itself, the teachers, the students, the community. And I want to thank all of you for considering this capital improvement plan. I am not a lawyer, so I'm not going to try and refute all the points that were just made, other than to say we have worked on this plan with our lawyer, and we are confident that it meets all of the appropriate requirements. I understand the impact for developers, but the entire purpose of the Development Impact Fee Act is about development, about impacts from development, and that is what we have from the very beginning been trying to do. We have been very intentional about having growth pay for growth. When we went through the study in 2018, we landed at a number. If we were to redo that study today, there is no question that in the last 4 years, the cost of land has gone up, the cost of buildings have gone up, and in fact, our pupil generation rate has gone up. The impact fee would definitely go up significantly. Our whole point of this exercise since we began was to stop putting all of the burden for the growth on our residents and our businesses. We were in disbelief when we stood there in McKelvey Center in 2018 that we were approaching 15,000 students. We're now sitting here at over 18,000, including a COVID year, and they are still coming literally by the day. So we are continuing to enroll students. We are continuing to need to build future schools. We have updated the capital improvement plan portion of the study. It's on pages, I think, 30 through 34 of your plan, and that's what we would ask you to kindly consider again tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor?
Good evening. My name is Leanne Lordo, and I reside at 579 Cranbourne Chase in Fort Mill. I am Associate Superintendent CFO for the Fort Mill School District, and I have been intricately involved in this process and the impact fee calculations with our consultants since we began our study and our process in November of 2018. 2017 was when we originally started. It was passed in 2018. I've worked closely with the county administration through this process in the last couple years, and we are all in agreement, and we're pleased for you to consider this amendment to our original capital improvements plan. This would add additional needed schools and, most importantly, provide for much needed taxpayer relief. During this process, there have been false and inaccurate statements and concerns made about our calculations. Tonight, I'd just like to highlight a few portions of the state law to help you maybe clarify that we are in 100% compliance on this amendment request. Article 9 in the South Carolina Code of Laws is the South Carolina Development Impact Fee Act, and this is the governing authority. An important point is that an impact fee plans for new capacity and is actually stated by the South Carolina Supreme Court in our favorable ruling in March of 2021. The purpose of an impact fee is to fairly distribute the capital improvement cost of growth and development among those who are generating the need for the improvements. The proposed amendment, as Ms. Spears mentioned, is addressing our next capacity concerns, and it starts on page 30, Appendix B of our document. As you've heard us say many times, our enrollment continues to increase. We are currently at 18,223 students, so we're currently at even more students than we're showing in the amendment on Appendix B when we started the process of amending this summer and into August. The Section 61920 of the law states that a capital improvements plan is a plan that identifies the capital improvements for which these development impact fees may be used as a funding source. A capital improvement plan is a part of an impact fee study, but it is a separate component. It's a separate piece. The study is the full document, and the capital improvements plan is the separate piece. Under the law, if you have adopted a capital improvements plan, then it complies with Section 61920, and you may impose the fee. Under the law, also in Section 61960, recommended capital improvements plan, there are several components, and any of these components can be updated, and that's what we are providing for your consideration. The changes must be approved in the same manner as we approved the original plan, which is the process we have been undertaking with you as it went to the Planning Commission, is now before you for second reading. And in our study, the actual capital improvements plan portion begins on page 9 and goes through page 16. Questions have been raised concerning our study and the original calculations, specifically regarding our newest high school, Catawba Ridge High School. At the time of the study, the construction had begun on that high school, and it subsequently opened in August of 2019 after the fee was passed in July of 2018. However, as required by Section 61960, it does state that we identified in our study all of the sources and the funding that were available to finance our system improvements, which included the bonded debt. Our study clearly identified numerous times that bonded debt would also be used to finance our system improvements, which is our new schools. And in fact, the most important thing to know here is that a credit of principal debt payments for our current debt and our projected future debt at the time was given in the calculation on the impact fee. So the impact fee that you approved in July of 2018 was actually the net number after the credits for current debt and future bonded debt. This prevents any double dipping, as it's often called. Additionally, questions have been raised that we may need a new updated impact fee calculation, and this may yield a lower amount. I have personally been working with the consultant over the last week, looking at all components of the formula, and I can assure you that even in the draft stages that we have been in the last couple days, the number is substantially higher for both single-family and multifamily or apartments. Several of the components of the current data that generate the increase, I think you would not be surprised, are student generation rates. We pulled all 18,000 of our students, our families, and looked at their address and identified their current housing type, meaning are they currently residing in a single-family home or a multifamily. Catawba Regional Council of Governments, who provided our district-wide or community-wide township housing units, they updated the numbers for us as well to give us the most current number of housing units in Fort Mill TAK. The construction cost, as you know, and we've mentioned, construction costs have escalated, and we plugged in the additional construction cost. Land cost, we included all of our land sites purchased over the last 10 years. We also included 3 recent land purchases that we have made since the original study in 2018. The average cost of land has now increased from $87,000 to $107,000 per acre in Fort Mill. And we updated the current debt and the future debt as referenced tonight. So much of our future debt in 2018 is now in our current debt calculations, and we've estimated the future debt needs to fund the additional schools and capacity that we're asking you to consider in the amendment. So every component of the data has been reviewed in determining if the fee would be at least at the current levels in the current plan, and it would. In closing, I hope that some of this may have clarified your questions and concerns. As far as the school district and as a CPA myself, I want to assure you that we take the financial accountability of the school district to the highest level, and we always try to be the best stewards of taxpayer dollars that we can. We thank you for your support tonight, and we thank you for your support in the future for the school district.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor?
Hello, my name's David Bust. My address is 4070 Country Overlook Drive, Fort Mill. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. I am the board member of the Fort Mill Economic Partners and the past chair. The Fort Mill Economic Partners exists to improve the economic and social well-being of Fort Mill. We're a consortium of businesses, and after studying the issue, we are in support of this. The business community pays the lion's share of school taxes. In a study that was recently done by the Lincoln Institute of Land Policy, almost 4 times the tax rate for 100,000 use to 100,000 of commercial property is higher by 4 times for commercial property. That is the 4th worst in the nation. We feel it the worst here in York County. We're comparing our businesses, are trying to find homes between Mecklenburg County and York County. We have a very hard time making that distinction of why Fort Mill, why York County. This amendment will allow us to shield us from future taxes that the business community desperately needs. And I'd like to thank you for your support.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor?
Good evening. I'm Dean Fell with York County Regional Chamber of Commerce. I reside at 3044 Wexford Drive. Just going to kind of cut to the chase. A number of points have been made. I mean, we're all here talking about impact fees for schools because of Act 388. Act 388 certainly hampered us in a way with our school system to deal with growth, and it shifted the burden of tax burden to individual homeowners to that of business. Without the, when the chamber looked at the impact fees that Fort Mill School District looked to put in 2018, as much as we have a distaste for increased taxes, we realize that this was certainly a needed avenue of paying for growth in the Fort Mill School District. We heard a lot of folks say this was going to hinder growth in Fort Mill, residential growth. I think the numbers that Ms. Lordo cited can already attest to the fact that that growth has not been stifled from a residential standpoint in any way. The important thing here is not to stifle the business growth. If we stifle the business growth, then we're really in a big trouble with maintaining the quality of our schools, particularly in Fort Mill. So with that said, I respectfully ask you to consider this and approve it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else who wishes to speak in favor? Do we have a motion to close? Motion and a second to close public hearing. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, public hearing is closed. Do we have a new motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd just like to make a couple comments here. First of all, thank you, everyone, for your comments tonight. You know, when I look at Act 388, and I look at the Fort Mill School District, I call it the field of dreams, all right? So we've created, Act 388 created a scenario where you're going to lower the residential taxes and you're going to have people look at the top #1 school in the state, and they're all going to want to come here. And that's what happened on this situation. We've seen, you know, over the years, the growth has been astronomical. That's impacted the school district immensely. But the challenge we see with Act 388, as was mentioned, is the impact on businesses. It has been detrimental. Being on the Economic Development Committee and working with, you know, Dean and a lot of the economic teams in this room here, we've seen the challenges of bringing in new businesses in the area. And this is a critical piece here. This is a critical piece to say that we are going to get some relief for our businesses here and our residents here, and we're gonna make this a business-friendly environment. And this goes a long ways to driving that. As I look at this, you know, we've got an opportunity here to make an impact, to actually stop a possible, if this isn't stopped, I'd probably estimate if we don't pass this and move forward, I would estimate we'd probably look at roughly a 10% increase on businesses, okay, with growth moving forward on the new schools that have to be built. That's a huge impact. Okay, this is a critical night tonight. Again, as we move forward, as we stand with our residents and our businesses in the area to bring some tax relief, I want to share those comments with everybody. I'll be supporting it tonight, but again, I want to share the criticality of this. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Ms. Lowe?
I think it's a bigger picture than schools looking out for schools and the chamber looking out for businesses. I think the issue is that we've gone from 15,000 to 18,000 students in one school district, and we keep building. And the impact fee, with the impact fee, we just keep trying to offset that building, and the capacity continues. Schools are impacted by the growth. Businesses are impacted because of Act 388 that nobody wants to fix because that's a political just fiasco when you start to tell your taxpayers that, hey, we're going to raise your taxes a little bit more because the businesses are now feeling the heat from this. My goal and the ultimate thing for me would be for everybody to work together to come up with a solution on behalf of the residents of York County. We've yet to pin the tail on the donkey, and that's what we need to do. And you can't do it just to schools, and you can't do it just for the businesses. York County has allowed growth that has impacted all of our schools. We've got 3 school districts so far that are very impacted by growth. And we just keep plugging a hole. I think last time we met, I called it patching. We're patching a problem. And until we do something about that, we haven't solved the problem for the people sitting in traffic. We just, you know what? Quality of life matters. And it needs to matter so much that the heat should be put, maybe we're the donkey, I don't know. But I think one of the things that Mr. Pruner brought up tonight, adequate public facilities, that's something that I wanted to see happen. I wanted us to look, that's the component part, even according to Tischler Bice, that's the component that goes along with impact fees. And when it finally got to this council, the majority voted to not hire a consultant at $50,000. That's only two and a half houses being built to offset that in one school district. But the majority of council voted not to hear about adequate public facilities. And I feel like the majority of people want something to be done for schools, and maybe that's at the top of the list, but there's also, there are fire trucks that are needed, and there are sheriff's deputies that are needed. So even if we're not paying for schools, taxpayers, you think we're gonna put this all off on the people that are building new houses. There's still a lot of money that's gonna come out of your pocket, because we're still building. And I believe that once the schools are getting $18,000 to $15,000 a house, they look the other way at that point. Their problem is solved, but only for a very short time. And then they'll be right back here, sitting on this front row again, trying to figure out, what are we gonna do next? Oh my gosh, we're 5 years down the road, and we're gonna need more schools. And they come right back, and ultimately, you know, in Fort Mill, by that point, it's point of diminishing return, because you've already built. We've already allowed something to be built on every square inch in Fort Mill. And then where's your money gonna come from? The goal, since I got on this council, was to slow the growth and the impact of growth. That includes schools. So I don't want anybody to sit out there and think that I don't care about the kids. I don't think this is about kids. I think it's about schools. But I do care about the kids, and I do care about the schools, but I care about the people across the board. And until we do something to fix that, until you all start showing up here and coming up to that podium and giving your name and address and saying, we don't want you to keep building like you've been building, stop these track builders in their tracks. Until you do that, it's not gonna stop. And you're gonna be back every few years needing more money. And I think it's a negative. I think it's a negative. I don't think that what the Fort Mill School District did was exactly right. I don't disagree that you need the money. And I also agree that when a new study's done, it's gonna increase. It's got to increase. But I don't have the confidence in the numbers that Tischler Bice has put forth in subsequent studies. And I feel like we take away the incentive. I'm speaking for myself. I feel like I take away the incentive when we vote to just keep fixing things. We've got to look at the whole picture. And you need to gather every friend you've got and show up every time, not just in your backyard, but every time there's a development coming that's going to put strain on our infrastructure, whether it's EMS or the sheriff's. Listen, that bill's coming next year, because we're going to need a lot more sheriff's deputies. We're just talking about schools tonight. But until we all come together and make a difference and work together to slow the growth countywide, we've got a couple districts that, you know what, if I could go back 10, 15 years in Lake Wiley and save Lake Wiley, by God, I would do it. We got a couple people that sit up here that represents districts that have that opportunity, but we gotta help them. We've got to help them. And we gotta put pressure on small towns and municipalities that see those dollar signs. Because those dollar signs, it's not about money going in, it's about what it ultimately cost them to continue to allow that growth. I've said all I'm gonna say about impact fees. I'm a no tonight, because I'm gonna try and hold everybody accountable, and I'm not gonna win that vote tonight, but what I would like to see is that everybody come together and let's make York County better.
Mr. Roddy.
Well, I'm not gonna belabor the point too much more. For the last 12 years, I've been sitting up here, and it's always Act 388, Act 388. You know, that's a broken record. Until we fix Act 388 and start putting people in Columbia who will fix Act 388, we're gonna always have this problem. And it's like Allison said, we're patching. We're patching. Today is schools, tomorrow is something else. I empathize with Mr. Pruner getting up and making this point about, you know, obviously a new study. To me, this is a legal question. We're faced with a legal challenge or a legal battle, not whether we agree that Fort Mill needs the money. Everybody knows Fort Mill needs the money for the schools. That's not what's at question. The question that I see from where I sit is, how do we go from what the intentions were that we put this impact fee in at $18,000 and what was said that money was going to be used for? Now we're changing courses, coming up with a new course of plan, new course of action. I kind of question how we've gotten from one step, this direction, to now over in a different step. I would have liked to have heard months ago. This has been on our plate now for probably a year, almost a year. We sent it to Columbia to try to get Columbia to change the rules to make it legal for us to turn this money over. That didn't work. It came back to council. We filed a motion for a judgment in the legal system to tell us how we should handle it. In the midst of doing that process, it goes back to the planning commission while we still have pending litigation going on to say, hey, will y'all consider this new slate of projects in the midst of a legal challenge? You know, we're spending money asking the court to do something, but at the same time, we're sending it to the planning commission to make a decision of how they can work it out. Now it's back to us. We still have pending litigation going on. This is no different from the same debacle that we got dealing with the Panther situation. We got a Panther situation that's in litigation, and our counterparts are still working to try to work it out while we got pending litigation. Either let's stop sending things to court, to ask the court to decide, and wasting taxpayer dollars that way, if we're gonna continue to work things out. I voted no on the impact fee originally because I thought the number was too high. But that's still not what's at question. The question is it right for us to allow the Fort Mill School District to change courses when the premise was take this money up in an impact fee to do this with? Now we want to change courses and say, let's use this list of projects. And to put the elephant all out in the room, we're talking about $50 million. We're not talking about $2,500, $10,000. We're talking about $50 million. That school district needs that money, but that's not the question. This is a legal question. And I think if we fall back and take the emotions out of it and answer the legal question, I think that everybody would want the legal part of this to play out and not let us play judge and jury. But if we had to play judge and jury up here, I would have to say, no, I don't want to use the bait and switch. I don't want to advertise the $99 TV, and when you get there for Black Friday, all of them gone, and you spend $500 for a TV. It feels like the bait and switch, and it wasn't intended that way. But when you realize we had a school that was already in the process of being built, included in the study, how do you now pull that school back out and feel good about moving forward with what we're doing here? I don't get that good, warm, and fuzzy feeling that we're doing it the right way by including Catawba Ridge in the study. Now we're saying we're getting credit, or we're giving credit, and we want to go a different course of action forward. If we believe in the numbers that the CPA just gave us about the increase in student population and the growth in Fort Mill, why not do a new study and substantiate those numbers? It would make this body feel good. I'm sure Mr. Pruner would accept those new numbers if we truly believed in them. And I honestly believe we've seen a bigger jump in Fort Mill student population than what was originally put in the study. If that's the case, that will support this impact fee staying where it's at or possibly increase it. Nobody's against the method, because it's the only method that we have to bridge the gap. Because if we don't bridge the gap in some sort, it's left on existing homeowners and taxpayers to shoulder all the burden. I don't think that's the right way to go. Obviously, like to see Fort Mill get their hands on some of this money. If a new study could be done, pull Catawba Ridge out and base it on the numbers that were there in 2017 when we were voting on this, there should be, that impact fee wouldn't be $18,000. But if you use current numbers, I'm sure it would support $18,000. But it's not up to me whether we get that opportunity, because I can tell you right now the will of the 5 of us here is going to pass tonight. But it's still, just because it passes doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. It just means it met the muster of obviously 3 council members. But we still have another reading to go, but I would love to see something done to rectify this in a much better manner, because we've sent it to court, we've sent it to planning commission, now it's back to council. something's not right if it's going through all these different channels for us to figure it out. You know, I hate to even ask staff how much we've paid on litigation or attorneys, only to bring it back here for us to decide. We're wasting money. We're wasting money on a decision that we could have made, wasting money that we probably could help commission a new study. We didn't do the $50,000 study to do the consortium? Adequate public facility study. I see the need for Fort Mill to get their hands on this money, but I want to make sure when they get their hands on this money that the litigation stops, because I can assure you right now, once this goes through, it's going to be still more litigation. Nobody wins. We're going to still continue to spend taxpayer dollars once we say yes after the third reading. And at that point, our return on investment starts to go down, because we're going to be spending money to solidify what we voted on. So I can take the emotional part out and get back to the legal issue or the legal question, and that tells me not to vote to pass this tonight.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Motion passes 3-2. Move down to our second public hearing. Council to hold a public hearing and consider second reading of an ordinance to amend the York County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 92, Fire Prevention Code, to update sections 92.28, Responsibility for Enforcement, 92.29, Fire Prevention Bureau, and 92.30, Standard Fire Prevention Code, portions adopted to designate the Director of Fire Safety as the fire official and to adopt the most recent fire code by reference, to amend the York County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 150, Building Regulations, to update sections 150.04 Building Code, 150.05 Electric Code, 150.07 Gas Code, 150.08 Plumbing Code, 150.09 Mechanical Code, and 150.11 International Existing Building Code, to adopt the most recent codes by reference as modified and adopted by the South Carolina Building Codes Council for mandatory enforcement by all jurisdictions within the state of South Carolina, to provide for a public hearing and to provide for other matters relating thereto. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak against? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor?
Move to close.
Second.
Motion and a second to close public hearing. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, public hearing is closed. Do we have a new motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. We move now to public hearing item number 3. Council to hold a public hearing and consider third reading of an ordinance to authorize the sale of 173 acres, more or less, of land located in the Lake Wiley area of York County, identified by tax map numbers 490-00-00011 and 490-00-00044, with an address of 2157 Hansville Highway. The property to entertain an existing offer to purchase the property, to authorize the chair and manager to execute the contract of sale and deed and participate in closing for the property, and to provide for a public hearing and to provide for other matters related thereto. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak against? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor?
My name is Billy Hagner. I live at 1901 Voyager Road, York, South Carolina. I want to make a few comments concerning this land sale. A lot of the information I got was out of the Herald. They had an article on it last week, and that's where I did get some of it. I am for economic development for sure, and for the land sale, as long as it is compatible with our surrounding area. Also, any increase in traffic needs to be accounted for and corrected. As you know, last time I saw the amount of people that are leaving York County and going to work somewhere outside the county was like 50 to 60%. Y'all may have a more recent number, but that's a large amount of people that's leaving the county to go to work. course, that impacts our roads. So the more opportunities we have within the county for people to have good jobs, the better off we are. So that's one of the main reason that I'm supporting this. Okay, I'm gonna show you just briefly now the, let me find the pointer here. Whoops, went wrong. There we go. Where's the pointer on here, Karen? Gotta have it facing the right direction. Wrong one. Okay. All right. Let's see that. Okay. All right, this is the property right here that's in, we're talking about the land sale. York County owns that and they're wanting to sell it. And that area is zoned industrial development. And industrial development covers a lot of territory. And the area around it, there's about 350 acres there adjacent to it that is also zoned industrial development. And the whole area around there is that. And industrial development users can be anywhere from mining to heavy manufacturing. And so that's, I don't think that is something we would want in that area, so I would certainly hope that it would not encounter anything like that. The most, I guess, the most intense manufacturing we have in that area right now is the CM Steel Fabrication Company, which I would consider as being just light manufacturing. So economic development compatible with what we have is what I'm assuming that y'all would want to put into this area. And then just to kind of update you on all the activity where we are, what I think Allison was talking about a while ago about all the growth. And most of this stuff that I'm getting ready to show you is things that were approved back in 2008. And it took this long for them to come to begin, and they have begun. So, like I said, here's the area here, the land we're talking about. Here's Westport. It's a new development. They just broke ground on it last year. It's going to have somewhere around 300 plus houses, and I think it may be expandable to as much as maybe 800. So that's in the works. This whole area right here is the Dalmer property. It was called Dalmer Development Agreement with the Dalmer Group at one time. I don't know what it's called now. But just I should have told you ahead of time too where we're at exactly. This is 274 right here. This is Allison Creek Road right here, and Allison Creek Church is right on the corner. So we've got that development in the works right now. We have Clover School District High School that just got approved here this past couple of weeks. We're getting ready to have a 2,100 expandable to 2,400 student high school right here. So that's going to increase the traffic considerably in the area. And not just from the building of it, but once the school gets started up, which will be in, I think, 26 and 27. Of course, over here we've got the nuclear plant. Right here we have the Allison Creek Recreation Area. It used to just be a boat landing. Now it's going to be expanded. It's being expanded to something like Ebenezer Park. And y'all know the amount of activity that it has. I've seen people come here and talk about all the, I guess, some of the traffic issues related to that. Down very lower, let me see if I can show it over here, because somebody's kind of in the way. Allison Meadows, it's a 65 home development. It started last year, and they're working on it. And then the other one is Lakeside Glen, which is kind of the big one. It's going to have 425 houses on it, and they have started working on it back in March. This area here is all developed. There's around 500 homes on there, and that's a peninsula. So with existing homes and Lakeside Glen, we're going to have over close to 1,000 homes trying to get out that area right there. Let me switch pointers here now. And one other thing we do have going on is the county is laying a 24-inch sewer line all the way down the side of 274, all the way from Crowder Creek. It's going to come all the way down here and go into the pump station down here at Little Allison. So there's a lot of activity going on in our area. Okay. Turn around. Okay, this was a traffic study that was done back in 2019 for the Lakeside Glen development. And basically, what I'm wanting to show here are the things that main things that it recommended or said it had to happen. One of them was a traffic signal at Allison Creek Road and 274. And it says on there that the traffic signal needs to be installed at the commencement of the project, beginning of the project. It says it on there a couple of times. Also down a little bit lower, right in here, it shows the money that had to be given by the developer to the county to mitigate 3 other intersections. And I think that money has been given to the county for these intersection improvements, but it's not enough. It's going to be a while before that money would be used. All right, wrong one. Here again, this is where the South Carolina Department of Transportation made their recommended about the traffic signal, and again says it's supposed to be at the commencement of the project. All right, this is an agreement, a declaration of covenants and conditions and restrictions for the Allison Creek property, which includes the 3 in the agreement is Fielding Homes, is York County, and it is also 7 landowners that's adjacent to that. This is where it was signed by Michael Johnson. He was the chair at that time. And basically this is the development. Right over here, it tells you the traffic, the things that's got to be done traffic-wise. That's a blow-up of it, and this is what it says right here. Described in an introduction, previous traffic study. DOT required a signal be installed at this intersection upon commencement of this project to address sight lines at this intersection. Therefore, a signal was assumed with the build volumes. So everyone is saying that we should have a traffic signal there at the commencement of the project. Let's see if I can go to the next one. Okay, this is the project. I would say it had commenced. This was August of this year. Since then, they've probably cleared out another 20 or 30 acres. Project actually started in March. And I would like to commend the developer. They have done a good job of, in my opinion, of containing any runoff sediment. They've done a good job of keeping the mud and stuff off the road. I don't know about this. This is the intersection, just quickly. Allison Creek Road, 274. You can see the Allison Creek Church is right over here. It's been there since, they've had a church there since about 1850, so it's been there a while. Big issue with them, they do have day school on, that we have a lot of extra traffic on at 8:30 to 9 in the morning, around 12:30 right after lunch. The traffic backs up all the way back into 274 both ways. They have a person that directs traffic, so it's pretty dangerous in my opinion. But basically, to sum it all up, that I am for economic development as long as it what results is compatible with our area and it accounts for the traffic. We've got an awful lot of growth in our area. You talk about Fort Mill and everywhere else. Everybody's growing, but we are definitely growing in this area where we are now. We need a turn signal installed by, I'm saying March of 2023, according to DOT, South Carolina Department of Transportation. A permit, the developer did ask for a permit in March of this year, and the permit runs out in 1 year. And I do not know if they're gonna make or what the plans are trying to have one, but I do think that we definitely need it by then. It'll be a year after the project really started. Lastly, I think the York County Planning Department needs to be sure and enforce our Declaration of Covenant Agreement, which includes this turn signal. If anybody has any questions, I will be glad to try to answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor? Do we have a motion to close public hearing? Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Do we have a new motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
I don't know.
We have a motion to approve times 2 and seconds times 2.
Yeah.
Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Move now to old business, rezoning action, consider second reading, case number 22-18, tax map number 56100000037, to rezone from GC to RUD, 5.3 acres in District 2.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Rezoning action, consider second reading, 22-22, 28600000072, to rezone from RSF 40 to ID, 5.93 acres in District 3. I did speak with Mr. Winkler ahead of this, and he requested a motion to approve.
Move to approve with the conditions included in the prior motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-1. We turn now to number 3, rezoning action, consider second reading, case number 22-31, tax map number 72600000076, to rezone from UD to RMX 20, 1.3 acres in District 1.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Rezoning action, consider second reading, case number 22-34, tax map number 624000000, no, strike that 137, to rezone from UD to RMX 10.23 acres in District 4.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Rezoning action, consider second reading, case number 22-35, tax map number 44801011042, a portion to rezone from RSF 40 to AGC 1, 1.25 acres in District 3.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Rezoning action, consider second reading, case number 22-37, tax map number 659000007, to rezone from OI to GC, 0.5 acres in District 1.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Rezoning action, consider second reading, case number 22-38, tax map number 56500000172, to rezone from RMX 10 to RUD 1, 14.45 acres in District 2.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Council to provide second reading of an ordinance to amend section 153.59B1, appropriation of impact fee funds so as to account for amended capital improvement plans and to provide for other matters related thereto. I will say that legal has requested that we defer this to December 5th so as to allow for some tweaks.
Move to approve to December 5th.
Second.
Motion is to defer to December 5th. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. We move now to new business. Council to consider designating Keystone Substance Abuse Services as the entity to apply and receive the SC opioid recovery funds on behalf of York County government.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I do have one.
Mr. Audette.
Yeah, so in regards to these funds, I've had other entities coming to me and requesting that that were related to emergency services, et cetera, but asking how they can access some of these funds. Now, I think that, you know, again, the allocation of these funds, is this in a one-time distribution, or how does this work?
So this is going to be in multiple distributions as the money comes in from the settlement.
Uh-huh.
And there's also the political guaranteed sub-fund, which York County is a part of, but there's also a discretionary fund that's local organizations, governments can apply for as well. So there's two different funds or pools of money, if you will, that people or organizations can apply for.
Okay, so there's an opportunity for other entities, as I mentioned, to go ahead and apply for this?
Yes, and
Okay.
both rounds are early December for the first round
Okay.
of funding.
Okay, if I could, we can speak afterwards with
Sure.
that process then,
No
that'd
problem.
be great. Okay, thank you. That's it for me.
Mr. Roddy.
I want to piggyback off the question Thomas asked. How can other organizations throughout the community know that they can get on a list to obviously apply for any of these funds at a later date? Are we taking any kind of list or applications or?
York County's not taking any list or applications, but the South Carolina Opium Recovery Board, the SCORF, they have created a website. And so any organization can go there and look at the core abatement strategies that they've created and see if their program or services fit under that. And then there's an application right there online at that website that they can apply for the discretionary fund, or if it's a political subdivision that's under the guaranteed fund.
Okay, I'll get that from you.
Yes, but you're welcome to send anyone my way, and I can direct them as well.
All right,
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Council to ratify a one-year contract renewal option regarding RFP number 2690 for temporary staffing services with Spur Staffing, Inc. of Huntsville, Alabama.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Council to ratify a one-year contract renewal option regarding RFP 2690 for temporary staffing services with Marathon Staffing, Inc. of Columbia, South Carolina.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Council to approve the purchase of security network devices for use by the Information Technology Department from Data Network Solutions, Inc. of Chapin, South Carolina, for a total cost of $291,811.76 as part of the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Fund.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. We move now to number 9 in consent. Council to consider second reading of an ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a third amendment to the certain fee in lieu of tax agreement by and between York County, South Carolina, the Lash Group LLC and Kingsley Number 9 LLC dated October 5th, 2015 as amended, and other matters related thereto.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Do we have discussion? Mr. Roddy?
Yeah, I wanted to have this pulled out for some public discussion. So obviously, people will look at our agenda, may not, and don't always attend the meeting, but I did want to have it stated publicly what we were doing here. I had an opportunity to speak with our Economic Development Director, David Swenson, today to further explain what we had going on with this. And I'll just, I guess, rehash our conversation from today. We entered a feedlot agreement with the Lash Group with the promise of 2,200 jobs and an $80 million investment. Since we signed that agreement, they've exceeded their investment level. And so what we're doing here today is reducing that job requirement minimum down from 2,200 down to 1,000. And part of our discussion was that so many people are working from home, and that would be factored into these jobs as well. But the good news is that they went in with the expectations of only investing $80 million, but as of to date, that number's $167 million. And so that far exceeds what the expectation going in, and so they've come back and wanted us to lower that job threshold to stay in compliance, obviously with COVID and some other things that have happened. That 2,200 job figure apparently wasn't attainable. So we've reduced that, but at the same time, we've gotten significantly more on the investment side, which in turn puts more on our bottom line for as taxes go. So I wanted to be completely transparent what we're doing here. I didn't want anybody to read the agenda and say, well, they couldn't meet the job threshold, and we're just letting them out of an agreement, and that's not what we're doing here.
Thank you, Mr. Roddy. Ms. Love? Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Committee and other reports. I know that Mr. Winkler was not available to attend the meeting. Do we have a substitute to report?
We do.
Okay.
Be that subject.
Ms. Love?
Yes. So, Councilman Hamilton and I met as the committee this afternoon, and we made the recommendation for Raymond Weber for the Lake Wylie Marine Commission, the recommendation for Brittany Brown to fill an unexpired term for the Keep York County Beautiful Board, Ann White for a first term District 3 York County Library Board, Mike Peak for a first term on the Catawba Regional Workforce Investment Board. We deferred the appointment for the Cultural and Heritage Commission. The Building Board of Appeals, we made the recommendation for the appointment of Brian, I don't know how to say his last name, Brezg, possibly, and the appointment for Connie Kane, both first terms on Building Board of Appeals. We made the recommendation for the reappointment of Kate Kraxberger for a second term, District 1 on the Planning Commission. Recommendation for the consideration of Aubrey Parham for a second term from District 3 on the Planning Commission, and the recommendation for John Segura for a first term as the at-large member on the Planning Commission. That's not all we did, though. We also, where's my notes? Oh my God. We voted to recommend the allocation of funds from District 4 to Eden Community Development. Thank you, Mr. Riley. We received a finance update. We deferred a discussion on a local bid preference because Mr. Winkler, we felt like we wanted all three be here for that. And the Finance and Operation Committee supports the recommendation to increase employee compensation 6.5% to maintain competitive compensation packages in the labor market. And we recommend that that begin the first pay period following council approval for that.
I will only add that Councilwoman Love did a fine job in Robert's stead tonight, so.
I have no doubt.
Mhm.
Council member, new non-agenda comments.
We'll let Tom start this
So,
one off.
I'll start down
Claudette.
way down here. That's right. I just want to wish you all here in the room here, in the public here, a very safe and happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy this time with your family and friends. It's a beautiful time of year, so I just wish and push my blessings out to y'all.
Any other comments?
I'm just gonna say ditto to that. Thanksgiving's like one of my favorite little holidays and kicks off a big season for me at my business. So, I'll make the next few meetings, but my focus is gonna be on selling jewelry over the next little while. So that's what Thanksgiving Day means for me.
That's what Thanksgiving means to
The
me.
day after Thanksgiving.
Yes, yes.
I'll just echo what my two colleagues just said, as well as thanking everybody who got out and voted in the election. And if you've been sleeping under a rock, I was reelected, so thank those who obviously got out and voted and definitely voted for me. And looking forward to working with Tommy Atkins, who will be joining us. Looking forward to the special election that's coming up on January the 3rd. So if you didn't get a chance to vote for your county councilman in this last race, you do have an election coming up on January the 3rd. So pay attention to what's going on with that race as well. And everybody have a happy and fun and safe Thanksgiving.
Anyone else?
I guess I would be remiss if I didn't also wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. I hope everyone, has a safe and enjoyable holiday with their family, and that's all.
I think one of the things that has been a bit of a struggle these last few weeks is sitting in this position. You often get calls about things that folks are unhappy about. People usually don't pick up the phone to talk about how the good things that are going on. It's always the things that they're concerned about, they have fears about, they have struggles about. And I just want to say that at this time of the year, how thankful I am to live in a community that has so many things to be blessed. We have so many things to be blessed about. We are growing, we are thriving, we have good people who are serving, we have good employees who are working hard for this county. We don't always agree, but I'm thankful for the council that I serve with, that we can do so in a way that that I think that we debated out and come up with a good result. I also just want to say to the folks who are out there, one of the things that has really struck me lately is how much we need to extend grace to each other. Nobody knows what's going on in each other's lives. And assume that they are in a position that they need a little bit of grace when they reach out. And I think the more that we do that ourselves, and I challenge myself to do this as well, to think the best about people, to think the best about what their approach is, and as long as we keep the dialogue open, that will hopefully get us to a good place. But just very thankful, and I wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving from staff to council to our community. Do we have a motion for executive session?
We do. I move that we go into executive session for the receipt of legal advice relating to Blue Granite, also for the receipt of legal advice regarding a consideration of a settlement agreement for project Highway 274 sanitary sewer improvement, project number 16245, tract number 150, and also for the receipt of legal advice regarding a policy change.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we will move into executive session. We are out of executive session. No action was taken. Do we have any motions?
We do have some motions. Our first motion is to authorize our county attorney, county manager, and our council chair to finalize and execute the asset turnover agreement and billing agreement with Blue Granite as discussed in executive session.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
Our second motion is to approve settlement agreement and authorize execution by county attorney regarding project Highway 274 sanitary sewer improvement, project number 16245, track number 150.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.